So, hello everybody, I'm Richard Gon of Walk to Live podcast version. So this time, what I'd like to talk about is... I'm sorry, I can't speak well. So here, this time, what I'd like to talk about is that, so that's the system of the 12 kingdoms is going to solve the problem of Russia and China. So I'm going to tell you again. So the system of the 12 kingdoms is going to solve the problem of Russia and China. And the conclusion is, God knows the future of this world, but the President Putin and if possible, the President Xi are going to be executed by the God. So maybe most of you could not understand what I said. Of course, you know, even if you what I mean is even if you are a native speaker of English language, you would not be able to understand what I said because maybe your understanding has ended after I said the 12 kingdoms. So the system of the 12 kingdoms. What is that? Is your question in your head? I understand because so you know I have already understood that most people do not know the name of the novel, and the name of the novel is the 12 kingdoms. So to start with the 12 kingdoms is the name of a series of novel. So this the 12 kingdoms is the name of a series of novels, and there is a series of novels in this country, and even most Japanese people do not know the 12 kingdoms. So including me, maybe few people, not so few people, but so really small amount of people know the story or the existence of this series of novel. So which is why I'm thinking of explaining to you the outline of this series. So this is a fantasy novel or fantasy novel. Like so there's many fantasies like Peter Pan or Harry Potter's and others. So Avengers in some ways. You know, there are many imaginary stories, or there are many imaginary settings created in the forms of, for example, novels or movies or other types of entertainments. So the 12 kingdoms is one of such imaginary or fantastic contents. And of course, you know, so maybe in this time or in the recent case, Kimetsu no Yaiba is famous, and that is one of such fantasy entertainments, isn't it? So you know, anyway, it's like please imagine. So if you do not know Kimetsu no Yaiba, please imagine Doraemon or Ant-Man, stuff like that. So and you know the 12 kingdoms is a serious one, and the story is serious one. The story is serious one, and the setting of the series of novels is like the setting is really similar to China. So that of course you know that series of novels is Japanese content, but actually the story or the setting is really close to China, and moreover the setting or the world. So you know the world is really unique, distinctly different from this real world we live in. So in the world of that novel, or in the world of that series of novel, so the heaven decides things. And to start with, there are only 12 countries, because you know, as the title shows, there are only 12 countries, and all of those 12 countries are kingdoms. And the story goes on in such a world. And so how should I say? Of course, there are 12 countries, and so the shape of continents or the shape of lands are clearly different from the reality we live in. So, please imagine, please imagine the world map of this real world. So, maybe in the case of European countries and in the case of the United States of America, so Japan is the east, and maybe European countries are located in the center or in the upper center of the world map, and the United States of America or America are located to the in the west of the map, and Japan and China are located in the east of the world map. So please imagine such a world map, and also Oceanian countries, and for example, so not Russia, but Australia is located in the southeast part of the world map, or right side down. Right side down is a place given for Australia in your world map. So world map, and that is the reality, or that is the real world we live in, including you and including I. So the setting is really different in the case of that novel. So in the case of that so if you'd like to know the details of that novel, so please access to the link. So to the link written in the description column of this episode. So I'm going to write the link, or I'm going to write the URL to leading to the web page describing the stories and the settings about the series of the novel. And so anyway, before explaining each position of those 12 countries or 12 kingdoms, so I'm going to explain to you the system of the 12 countries. So as I said, the heaven decides all the things, including the kings of those 12 countries. To start with, so maybe imagining, not imagining. Anyway, the heaven orders a suitable person or suitable people to become the king or the kings of those 12 kingdoms. So for example, maybe I should explain the story. So the main story, or the mainstream of the story of the novel is taking place in a country named K. K is the name of a country in that novel, or in the novel named The 12 Kingdoms. So of course, K is one of such 12 kingdoms, and K is or in the beginning of that novel, K is really a poor country. Not the poorest. There are some countries harsher or poorer than the country named K, but actually K is poor country. K is a poor country among those 12 the 12 kingdoms. So the story, and that imaginary world is connected to this real world, which is also the setting of that novel. So the story goes like a high school girl was ordered to become the queen of that country. The country is K. So which is why that Japanese high school girl was taken away from the real world and into that imaginary world of the 12 kingdoms. And this story is complicated because what is the most complicated stuff is how the heaven, or how the 10 attains heaven in this novel. So how the heaven orders, or how the heaven passes its order to kings. So there are 12 creatures, and those creatures have human shapes, or how should I say? They maybe the closest image is like humanoids. Of course, those creatures have emotions, and those creatures have intelligences on the same levels, on the same level as human beings in the imaginary world. But those creatures are not human beings, but animals, and those animals are called kirin in that imaginary world of that novel. So those kirin, or those holy animals, they are holy animals actually, or God-given animals. So those creatures are God-given animals, which is why those creatures can pass the orders to king, or to those creatures can understand the orders of the heaven, or ten, and those creatures can identify who is going to be, who has to become the king of the country, which is what those creatures can, or that creature in each kingdom can do. So each of those holy animals, or each of those kirin are sent to each 12 kingdoms, or each kingdom. So which is why one kingdom has one holy animal and one king or queen. So this is also a special point. But so in most cases, so half of those kingdoms have queens, and half of those kingdoms have kings. So which means sometimes those 12 countries have 5 queens and 7 kings, and sometimes those 12 countries have 5 kings and 7 queens, and in most cases those 12 kingdoms have 6 queens and 6 kings. So for example, so in the case, or in the mainstream of the stories of that novel, so a high school girl became the queen of K, which is the name of a country in those 12 countries, which means K has the queen, and the previous leader, the previous political leader of K was also queen. Yeah, but there had been a previous king in that country, and that king had been really great, and that king had made that country flourish for 300 years. So anyway, this is also one of such special points, because so that once somebody became a king or queen, he or she has to live on until they are fired, or until the king or the queen is fired, or ceases to hold some kind of qualification as kings or queens. So which is a system special to that novel, or the 12 kingdoms, which means, so as I said at first of the description of those 12 kingdoms, so kings and queens are orders to become, or the heaven orders kings or queens to become kings and queens, which is why sometimes those people lose their qualifications as the political leaders of those 12 kingdoms. Like, so some people try to persecute his or her people, which is why And some kings or some queens try to enjoy their own lives, sacrificing or for victimizing or abusing his or her citizens living in their countries. And once such things happen, the heaven judges that the king or the queen has the heaven judges or the heaven decides that the queen or the king has or have lost their qualifications or their abilities as the political leaders of governing their own countries, which is why in such a case the heaven kills the heaven kills the holy animals, and along which the king or the queen are going to die, because once those holy animals deceased, once the holy animals die, those kings and those queens are going to die soon after the deaths or soon after the deceases of those holy animals, which is a system of the 12 kingdoms. So what I'm telling you is that it's good to apply that system into this real world, which means, so for example, in the case of the war taking place between Russia and Ukraine, so thinking about what President Putin had done against Ukraine. So to start with, in the system of or in the world or in the rules of the 12 kingdoms, it's really bad to infringe other countries. So no king or no queen can infringe other territory or other countries, which is why, so applying the rules or the systems of the 12 kingdoms into this real world, President Putin is going to die, because the heaven judges that President Putin is not suitable person as the political leader of his country. Which is why, so applying that rules or applying the system of the 12 countries to this world, so maybe President Putin is going to die, and there is another person who may be killed by the heaven, and that person is, so Xi Jinping, or the President Xi, governing or controlling mainland China. And in the case of Mr. Xi or Xi Jinping, so Xi Jinping or President Xi has persecuted Uyghur people, which is why, so applying the rules or applying the system of the 12 kingdoms into this world, maybe, so if possible, so the President Xi can be killed by the heaven, which is also what I'd like you to know this time. So I'm exhausted. I'm tired from explaining this, because the story is really complicated. So the title, coming back to the title of this episode, the title is "The System of the 12 Kingdoms is going to solve the problem of Russia and China." So the conclusion is, God knows, or I wrote God, or I used the word God in the description column of this episode. So in the case of this novel, so the heaven decides things. The heaven is a kind of the God, and then maybe, please imagine the heaven is really close to Allah in Islam. So please imagine the Allah decides everything in this world. Please imagine such a world in reality. If you do not understand what I said, explaining things about the novel. So anyway, so the conclusion is, God knows the future of this world, but the President Putin and, if possible, the President Xi are going to be executed by the God. And So in applying this rule, applying the rules, or applying the system of the 12 kingdoms, which is the name of a novel, which is the name of a novel, into which is not which is the name of a novel, but which is the 12 kingdoms is the name of a series of novels. Into applying the system, or applying the rules, or applying how things go in the 12 kingdoms into this world. So the President Putin, and if possible, the President Xi are going to be executed by the heaven, using if you use a term used for that novel, which is what I'd like you to know this time. So that's it. I'm exhausted with explaining things about the novel. And at last, let me explain the positions of each country. So, or maybe I should explain the structure, I should explain the structures, or the structures, or how continents are shaped in the world of the 12 countries. So all of those 12 countries are located like symmetry and point symmetry. So for example, I was talking about K, which is a country among those 12 countries, and K is an eastern country, and so there's a ring-shaped continent and four islands, and each island country each insular country is located in northeast part, and northwest part, and southwest part, and southeast part. So there's a continent, and among the ring-shaped continent, there's also an island, and the central island has a king, not king. The central island has the heaven, and the central island decides the system of those 12 kingdoms, and there's a ring-shaped continent, and that ring-shaped continent has 8 countries, and out of those 8 countries, or out of that ring of that ring-shaped continent, having or comprising 8 countries, there are 4 countries, and each country is located in the southeast part of the whole world, and another country another insular country is located in the southwest part of the whole world, and the other two countries are in the northeast and in the northwest part of the whole world. So the positions, or the locations of those 12 countries are stuff like that, as I explained. So, and let me correct a mistake. So I said fantasy for the adjective of fantasy, but actually fantasy, there's no such a word like fantasy, but fantastic is what I wanted to tell you. So fantastic or fantastical are the correct adjectives for fantasy. So that's it. Thank you very much for your listening. See you.